What is up, Netflix fans, and welcome back to my channel. As always, we're talking about the brand new show or movie that dropped on Netflix, and today's series is Neon Genesis Evangelion, and that's what we're talking about. I need you guys in the comments down below. Have you ever heard of it? This is going to be a very interesting video, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. So one of the OG anime series created all the way back in 1995, lasting to 1996. This is all about a teenage boy who finds himself recruited as a member of an elite team of pilots by his father. And I just want to start the video with this. I want to preface with the fact that I am a fan of anime all across the board, but I wouldn't consider myself a connoisseur of anime, right? I haven't delved into all of the really important series, and even though this is considered a classic Japanese anime, it's one that I've never been able to check out until now, and one reason is because this show has been very difficult to find legally until Netflix announced that they got the rights to the show, even though they were redubbing, bringing in brand new actors and doing an English version as opposed to the English version that was released way back when. Now, fans who hold this series close to their heart, especially ones who did the dubbed version, they hold that version close to their heart. Therefore, there is going to be some backlash, and there has been plenty of backlash to Netflix doing their own thing. And I understand why Netflix did this, right? Netflix, as always, they have a very interesting way about doing things. So, of course, they bring in their own cast. They're going to do their own thing. I believe they changed certain things about the audio as well. But if you are passionate about that specific version and you were very upset that Netflix did this, I understand that, but I didn't have anything to go on, so I went into the series very fresh, knowing things about it, not necessarily how it ended or major plot points, but I've heard so many people tell me, Austin, this show is amazing. Now, there are people on the internet that absolutely hate everything about this show, but that divisiveness comes with a show that gets so much attention and a lot of people consider as a classic. So clearly, big expectations going into this show, so I did not know what to expect other than it is based in the year 2015, which is interesting because it came out in 95. 2015 was the distant future to everyone watching this show, and angels are attacking the planet Earth. Angels are these giant creatures. Think of kaijus from Pacific Rim. By the way, this is a very huge influence for Pacific Rim. You have the mech suits, you have the kaijus, everything going for this series came with Pacific Rim as well. Okay, back to the plot. The thing that I found interesting about this show is you're not grabbing the random 25 to 30-year-old guy or girl off the street to pilot these things, not the person in their physical and mental prime. No, these can only be piloted by 14-year-old children and only a handful of them. It never really explains why necessarily, but I didn't need that. You were kind of thrown into the situation, especially when you get into the first episode. You're like, okay, I get what's happening. I understand that this kid, he is the one that has to do this. He has to take on this mission along with all of these other responsibilities, and that's going to be something that wears on someone that is the age of 25 or 30, let alone a 14-year-old boy or girl. And as we go throughout the series, we see he is not the only pilot. There are not too many, but other pilots that come into the equation. But my goodness, guys, imagine taking on the world. That's what this kid has to do, and I found that so interesting. So he is piloting the Eva 01. This is a giant organic mecha, and it's constructed by nerve, and that's the only thing that can stop these angels. So every single episode, you have the angel coming down. The fight has to happen at some point. It's kind of a rinse and repeat scenario, but this show is so much more than that because yes, you have that, and that is very entertaining. And the animation, I understand why so many people love this series, and so many people were tweeting at me this week saying, Austin, you have to watch Neon Genesis. Go and watch this show. It's amazing. I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. And then I read about it, and then I understand why people have been talking about it for so long. So I buckled down. I watched all 26 episodes, and yeah, it is a beautiful show to look at. Now, I do have not issues, but there are things to point out about the animation. There are so many shots in this show where characters are standing, everything is concrete, there's nothing happening except for audio, and not that that's a lazy route to take, but you can see and understand that they did not have the biggest budget to do this at the time, and you can definitely start to see that towards the last few episodes, and we'll get into that in just a bit. But there were so many times when characters were moving their mouths and nothing else, or they were covering their mouths so nothing was happening on screen. All you were getting was audio, and it held on specific scenes for quite some time. Now, you can definitely look at that as an artistic decision, and it is one that worked. I mean, it worked for the characters, it worked for the situations. It did not bother me because during the action scenes and looking at the landscapes, and especially the sky, something about the sky in this show, and I know it's so simple and it probably sounds so stupid coming out of my mouth, but guys, it was just beautiful, and it adds to the authenticity of a show that came out in 1995 that looks this good. Watching this in 2019, it still looks amazing. And once again, the action scenes between the mech suits and the angels, they were fantastic. And something to add into this lore is this is actually 15 years after an enormous catastrophe killed half of the world. So this is another crisis with unidentified invaders called the Angels. And now you hear the word angels, so okay, is this like a biblical thing? Does it have to do with religion? Is it a play on Christianity? And in its own odd way, especially the more you get into the show towards the middle of the season and the end, goes a little bit off the rails, but my goodness, there are so many similarities between what's happening in this show and the Christian mythology. It is an apocalyptic tale, absolutely, and like I said, it goes a bit off the rails. And my big issues that I have with the last few episodes is, one, you can tell that they ran out of money and the budget wasn't the best, and the creator was apparently so upset with that fact that he went back and created 2 movies, one movie based around what happens in the last few episodes, and another one that is apparently an alternate reality ending to the ending that we got to this series, because this series is only one season. These 26 episodes, that's the only 26 episodes we have. So I have watched through the entire series. Now, there are spin-offs and there are things that happen after, absolutely, because this was so popular, but this is the show that we are getting. And apparently, as far as I know, Netflix is actually getting rights to the movie. I'm not for sure when that is coming out, but that will be kind of the ending that he wanted us to see, even though that ending is just as divisive critically as the ending to this show. And I'm not saying the ending to Neon Genesis ruined the entire series, it just went a bit more crazy than I expected, especially after watching the first few episodes, where this kid is just having to deal with all this. And I understand the critiques of saying the main character in Shinji is annoying, and I understand that critique because he is a 14-year-old boy. I was annoying at 14. I'm probably still annoying now, but I know many kids around that age, they are still trying to discover themselves. They're still trying to figure out who they are going to be, but they are not thrown into the situation that this kid was thrown into, staying at this random person's house, trying to figure out why he was in this situation in the first place. And then you start to discover why he is actually there. Your questions in the first few episodes begin to get answered. So this is a mild spoiler, I guess. I don't think it's going to ruin any major aspect of the show, but if you haven't seen it, I'm just giving you a warning. But this is something that I think I need to talk about. Shinji is the son of Ava's creator, and this guy, he's a distant father, and he calls for a son only when he's needed to pilot this weapon. Their relationship is a very interesting version of similar family-driven narratives where the father or the mother uses their son or daughter to fulfill their own wishes and do the thing that will save the world, yes, but also give them the credit for creating this hero. And then you have a main character who does not want to disappoint his dad, of course, but he resents these responsibilities, and he is constantly just questioning the fact that he is there in the first place. He doesn't understand why he has to be the chosen Ava pilot or the hero, and as many times as he tries to turn his back on the entire situation, he just can't do it. And that's one reason why I found this show so fascinating, is because it's not just another giant robot fights monster. No, it's a story about growing up and accepting your humanity, and in its own weird way, it's a coming-of-age story. It works for adults because of the epic action, anime lovers because of the anime tropes, but they don't go overboard with those tropes. It felt like this show was an establishment of what was to come after in the world of anime. I even saw characters in this show that are very reminiscent to characters that I see in anime shows nowadays, but clearly we see where they got that. They got that from Neon Genesis. And then you have a show for children because they can relate to the main character. They understand where Shinji comes from, and even if they don't understand where he comes from or why he's doing what he's doing and why he doesn't accept the fact that he is a hero, they're going to see that he's planted in a situation that maybe he doesn't want to be in, and he starts to develop friendships and possibly relationships, and he starts to maybe fall in love with the character, and there are people that come into his life you think they're going to be villainous characters, and they end up being friends. And that's what this show is all about. It's about accepting yourself, realizing why you're here to do what you were made to do, and doing it on top of all of the great action, the beautiful animation, and so many layers that I'm probably missing. Listen, there are, like I said, hardcore fans of this show, fans that know so much more about it than I do, and I've already watched all 26 episodes. They've had years to dive deep into the characters and the themes and what it means, and while I can't sit here and tell you what each individual thing means, and maybe I did not accept the final few episodes like others are going to accept them because I did find it a bit of a different tone than the rest of the series. Oh, by the way, apparently Fly Me to the Moon is an outro that is well known for this show that was kind of scrapped when Netflix brought the show to their audience, and it's just another thing I'm seeing online that's causing controversy. Once again, I don't have a connection to that version of the show. All that I have seen from the show is what people have been telling me online, and then the show itself, and that's what I connected to. I'm not trying to water down my opinions, but I have to make that clear that this is a brand new concept and thing to me. And one good thing about getting the rights is Netflix, they are introducing this to kind of a new generation of potential fans for this show. It is well known as a classic, and those are high standards, especially going into a series that you expect to be awesome, but at the end of the day, for me, it was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It did not quite live up to those expectations, but it was great. One of the better animes I've seen in a long time, and I recommend it to anyone who has not been able to check it out. Guys, I'm gonna go really high with my score, and not because what this show is known for prior, but what it did for me when I was watching and how easy it was to get through and how much fun I had gravitating towards these characters, appreciating the action, and just having a great time with it. I'm gonna go 90% for Neon Genesis. Guys, I need you in the comments section to let me know, what did you think about this show? Are you upset with the fact that I loved it as much as I did? Because I'm sorry. No, seriously, guys, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really does help out this channel. And later on, we have an Annabelle Comes Home review. We have a Conjuring tier list. And then I'm going on vacation, so you guys may see some very interesting videos from me this weekend. Just keep on the lookout. You guys are the best, and I'll see you very soon.